Mr Speaker, I seek the support of the House to allow me to urgently introduce and second read a bill that will amend the bail laws of this state. The suspension will allow me to introduce and second read the bill after the conclusion of the condolence motion foreshadowed by the government over the Bondi tragedy today. A copy of my bill has been supplied to the government and the crossbench. It concerns a policy announced 7 days ago. The circumstances of urgency on my suspension should rightly be above politics. Just 2 weeks ago, our state was shocked and appalled when a resident of Forbes, Molly Ticehurst, had her life tragically brought to an end in what has been alleged to be a murder. 15 days prior to Molly's tragic death, her alleged killer was given bail. Bail was granted by a registrar rather than a judicial officer of the rank of a magistrate. A condition of the bail granted was that the accused was not to go near Forbes where Molly lived and worked. But the police alleged that Molly was murdered in Forbes in breach of the bail conditions. At the moment, there is no electronic monitoring of bail conditions. This needs to change. My bill will make that change. 15 days prior to Molly's alleged murder, bail was granted on 3 charges of sexual intercourse without consent, 4 counts of stalk, intimidate, 2 charges of property damage and 1 count of cruelty to an animal, being Molly's dog. Since 2016, there has been electronic monitoring in New South Wales of people on parole. New South Wales led the nation in this initiative. Electronic monitoring identifies breaches, notifies the person in breach, and if it is not remedied, notifies police and participating victims to enact their personal safety plans. After the state election last year in May of 2023, the Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research in New South Wales gave a very positive evaluation of the electronic monitoring for persons on parole. The review found that electronic monitoring substantially reduced reoffending and breaches of parole and AVO conditions. This successful program should now be extended to bail. Our state has the infrastructure and experience to roll out electronic monitoring in bail matters involving serious personal and violence offences in a domestic relationship, where police have been asked that bail is refused or that electronic monitoring should be a condition of bail. It's time that we amend the Bail Act to introduce electronic monitoring, and the bill that I seek to be introduced urgently will allow that to be done. It's time that registrars stop deciding bail cases for serious personal violence offences. We have the audio-visual equipment in our courts to allow magistrates to remotely do this. And women should be protected during the process of an appeal of bail for serious personal violence offences in a domestic relationship, where a decision to make an appeal is made. The decision not to impose a condition of electronic monitoring on the accused, the alleged offender should remain in police custody for up to 3 business days while an urgent appeal is heard. The community expects this House to operate in a collaborative way to enable these practical reforms to urgently occur. We ask the House to put aside politics as usual and support this suspension of standing orders so that these changes to the Bail Act can be urgently debated in the public interest. Molly's life must not be in vain. I ask the government to put aside political business as usual and allow the opposition to advance this bill in the public interest. I ask the Independents and the Greens to also support this. The communities that we all represent are screaming out for us to work together to find urgent solutions to the scourge of violence against women. Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I thank the members for Wallandilly and Murray for indicating their support for the suspension of standing orders. Can I also say how disappointing it is to hear some of the things that have been said on this debate today. For a start, the suggestion that this is some piecemeal reform ignores the fact that since 2016 we have had electronic monitoring for parole. We have had a system that has been working, that the stakeholders have been working with. This is an extension of an existing program, and to suggest that it's some piecemeal, ill-considered reform it goes completely against the reality of our situation. Now, it will take time to implement. So we've allowed in our bill that's been circulated for a period for the government to get the practical measures in place and then implement the bill. But we've put a 6-month cap on that time period as a clear indication of this Parliament that we will get on with this serious work. Can I also point out that 7 days ago we publicly released our policy, our 3-point plan, which is encapsulated within the bill. We started getting a bill drafted after it became clear from Cabinet's meeting on Friday that there was no indication of a bill that would be coming forward from the government this week. We gave the crossbench a 1-page briefing note on our bill on Sunday. We then engaged, and when the bill was finalised and had gone through our usual processes, it was distributed today to the crossbench and to the government. So there has been an ample time. What we are proposing is to allow the bill to lay on the table for 7 days for people to be able to consult. We are not asking members of this House to vote on the bill. Any changes that are suggested, we welcome. For example, the Leader of the House complained about the definition of serious personal violence offences. It's the same definition that's currently within the Bail Act, but if he thinks for these provisions there should be a different definition, we're willing to have that discussion. We are open-minded. We want a good bill. We want the best bill to be protecting our community. The real problem is that we want this bill to pass through both houses of Parliament in this next 2 sitting weeks. If we keep delaying and delaying and delaying with the usual vacation in July, it could be months before even the practical steps start taking place. We need to, as a Parliament, take a position, force the implementation of these important and practical measures. And I ask this question: how many lives of women are the members of this place willing to put at risk by that kind of delay? These changes can't wait for months. We need to be moving quickly. We want to be in a position to get this through both houses of Parliament in these 2 sitting weeks. And that's why I ask for support for my motion. I ask all members of this House to examine their conscience and do the right thing and support this suspension so that it moves through this House appropriately. And I want to end with the words of Molly's father. He said, "I can say all the normal stuff that people say about how their daughter was beautiful, but Molly really was. Someone's got to be responsible." We have to be responsible. We are the elected representatives of all of the citizens of this state. We need to be responsible. I ask the House to support this reasonable suspension of standing orders so we can all get on and pass reasonable legislation that we can all discuss in the next 7 days and make sure that our state is a better place and that women in our state particularly are safer than they are today.